So, hello and welcome to Reach Out's panel discussion for International Women's Day 2025. Thank you so much for taking the time to give it a watch. So, we're really excited about today's conversation. I'm Nikita, I'm Reach Out Senior Partnerships Officer, and we've got some fantastic speakers lined up for you today. So firstly, we've got Halima Afra, one of Reach Out's project officers here in London. Halima's responsible for the day-to-day running of a number of our projects, helping to make sure that they have a really positive impact on the lives of the young people who take part. Sarah Neild is the Executive Director, Head of Cyber Retail at Howden, one of our corporate partners. Sarah and Howden have been fantastic in their working with us to give mentees insight into their industry through speaking at our projects and hosting workplace experience visits. And Glorious O'Colsoon is a former Reach Out mentee and member of our alumni community who will be sharing her experience of taking part in Reach Out as a young person. So the first thing I wanted to ask, and this is to everyone, is about what accelerating action means to you. So how do you think we can build more momentum in breaking down the barriers that are holding girls back from reaching their career goals, especially for the young women that Reach Out works with?
I can kick us off. I think for me, what it means to accelerate this and build up momentum is closing that gap between potential and then opportunity. A lot of young girls don't lack ambition or skill. I think what they're missing is like that real life exposure to what's out there. We encourage them to take up space, take a seat at the table, but how do you do that if you don't know what it looks like? I think we generally need to start treating career confidence the same way that we do treat academic confidence. That way, like, young girls are getting ready and prepared like so early on in life, because like in general they don't take a test or an exam without preparation or revision, but we expect them to thrive in workplaces without that exposure. So I think definitely a way to build up momentum is providing a space for the girls that is low risk but high exposure on what different careers feel like to them, so they feel comfortable when it is time to step into those spaces and own them as well.
Yeah, Halima makes a really good point, actually, and mine completely follows on from that. I think sort of pedaling back to the start of your conversation, really, the question, Nikita, was, to help girls achieve their career goals. But actually, what is their career goal? How are they supposed to know what that is? I work in insurance. Very rarely is that anybody's top career goal, right? Certainly wasn't mine. I fell into it by accident. You've heard me tell this story before. I had failed my A-levels. I needed a job. My mum told me to get into the office at the end of town, and thank goodness that she did, because it's turned into a fabulous career. But actually, nobody ever spoke to me about a career in insurance. The one piece of advice I had from a careers officer was, don't go into insurance, Sarah, you'll be bored. Far from it, actually. So, for me, it is about people like me, people who are in the industry, banging that drum and getting out there and showing the girls the possibility of what could be, or what could be ahead of them. Because exactly as Halima says, if you don't know what that looks like or feels like, if you are looking at the opportunities based on, people in your immediate circle, you've no idea. You've no idea where to head to. And so for me, that's very much what Accelerate means. It's about, spreading experience, spreading the knowledge of opportunity, but then for me in the industry also to take that and create those opportunities for those young women who want to take them forward. And then once they're here, making sure they are supported, nurtured, brought on to ultimately provide them with financial independence. For me, financial independence for women is the most important thing, because it's what guides you through the rest of your life. What enables you to make decisions that are right for you, and what enables you to, not become stuck in situations that aren't where you want to be.
Just on the back of that as well, like, forgive me if it actually was Howden's, but I remember last year when we took a group to an insurance company for a work experience visit last year, and I think like the real light bulb moment was, I remember one of the corporate volunteers was actually went to their school. It was a young Black woman that went to their school many years before them. So it was like drawing those real life connections and seeing where they could be. So it becomes demystified, and it's less abstract but more real. And it's like, okay, you've had the life I've lived, you've had the experience that I've had, you went through the same system, same education system, we probably had the same teachers too. And it's like, okay, this is a real career path. And yeah, I think it's just becoming real and tangible for the young people and for the
I think
girls.
like the most powerful thing that that like young people can do is realize that they can do it. I think every single time that that I felt really great, it was like, oh, I can do this. It's like, oh, so this isn't crazy, this isn't scary. I can actually do this. And by seeing and by having those opportunities to meet people who are in industries that they've never even experienced before, those are what opens their idea. It opens their minds more. And sometimes you have to be exposed to it kind of over and over again for it to be drilled into you, especially when your immediate surroundings and environment don't necessarily foster that sort of growth. By having outside experiences, you're really able to then not to expand your horizons and expand what you can immediately see around you. And I think that's what Reach Out already does, but it's what I'm glad that Reach Out is having conversations to expand that even more.
No, I absolutely love that. And Halima, I think you hit the nail on the head with your sort of first answer. Like, how do you sit at a table when you don't know what the table looks like? So we need more visibility on people like our young people going into these careers. And I mean, I've learned so much going on work experience visits, things that I didn't know existed. How do we expect young people to know that? So some really interesting insight, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, Halima, I wanted to come to you sort of first for your perspective. Now, you work with Reach Out mentees every week. What do you think are some of the main barriers that the girls you work with feel are stopping them from reaching their career goals? And what did they think needs to change to help break down these barriers?
I think it's definitely, well, I think it's a mixture of different reasons. But I think across the board, a lot of it is visibility and not knowing what success looks like for them as well. I think it's great that like we Reach Out, we're getting young people to think about their careers and think about their goals. But it's like we said, it's like, how do you set a path when you don't know what it looks like as well? And it's like we build up their confidence in sessions and we encourage them to try something new and don't be afraid to fail, because it's a learning lesson. It's not really failure, is it? But it's a bit different when you're thinking about an area that's unknown to you. A lot of the young people, when they think about their dream job, a lot of the times they haven't got family members or friends or probably know anybody that are in those fields. So it's not like they can have that like inside information on what it looks like to them, the ins and outs and the everyday workings of different careers. So it's almost like we build up their confidence, but it's how do we translate that to the outside world? Because it is quite daunting and it is quite scary. Another barrier as well that we work with specifically young girls as well is not just jobs that are achievable, but actual careers that excite you. I think again it's that fear of failure and stepping into the unknown. What they usually aim for is what they usually see in their immediate circle. And a lot of like careers that they might be particularly interested in, they wouldn't necessarily aim for it because of that.
I will say, from my own experience, I was in a Reach Out project from year 9 to year 12. And what I will say is over time with Reach Out, I got more and more confident. I don't know how long you've been working with the girls, but I think one of the things that is so great about Reach Out and my experience also as a mentor was seeing the way that continuous support really does consolidate into building really confident young people. So that's whether it's a boys or girls project. And like, it's a really random story, but I remember from my project, from when I was a child in Reach Out, I had our project leader, her name was Katie. She told us about how she randomly applied for like a job that paid her like 100K, even though she knew she wasn't qualified for it, but she somehow got it anyway. And so it's by hearing stories like that and we had lots of amazing mentors around us that were always just telling us, like, we'd have chats with them about how work was, what they did. And through hearing those other women tell us about how they spoke up for themselves. And then also, I think the projects that Reach Out facilitates with the children. I think that's what Reach Out can really contributes to the young people. Like, you're not only there to, it's more like you're there to provide guidance and support. But I feel like Reach Out has also given children the freedom to find themselves within the advice and the guidance that is provided for them. And I think that's what it is. People who are truly invested and truly want the best for you and truly want you to be your best self, and who are giving children like that space and that opportunity to do that. I think that's what Reach Out does already. And obviously with each project, it's kind of individual, but that's why you have the amazing mentors and you have the amazing project leaders who can facilitate and adapt.
Yeah, this is fascinating to listen to. I think confidence is absolutely key, and what it's making me sort of realise, probably even more than I thought already, is actually how important it is for us in industry as these young women and to your point, come through and are buoyed by this confidence and the love and support that comes from Reach Out. And this fabulous, confident young person is delivered to our door to start a job. We need to continue to find a way to provide that support to keep these young people in the industry that they've joined, because actually it's quite difficult, I guess, to go from that fantastic network that was helping you believe you can achieve and giving you the confidence to try these things, to then suddenly be transported into this world that you've been aiming for. We need to make sure that we are finding ways to help support, continue to mentor, and make those young people continue to believe that they're on the right course, right?
We never stop growing and developing, right? So why should that support finish? Thank you so much. Sarah, I'm going to come to you next. Now, you've met a lot of Reach Out mentees through our work experience visit. You've spoken to them about your career journey and getting into this industry. Now, as a woman in your sector, what are some of the key challenges that you faced in your career journey so far? And what advice and encouragement would you give to young people thinking about entering your field?
So I think this comes back still to confidence. I'm thinking about the things and the challenges, and the industry has changed significantly since I started. I've been working in the financial sector for 34 years, so very different back in 1990 than it is now, very different in a good way, right? But I think one of the things for particularly young women is that sustained confidence through the life of your career, right? We hear a lot about imposter syndrome. I spend a lot of time talking to female colleagues, people in my team, around, that sort of crisis of confidence that particularly women seem to experience. I think we are hypercritical on ourselves. We tend to worry more that we're doing a great job. Grace, I thought your story about the female applying for a 100 grand job even though she knew she wouldn't do it. Like, young men do that fairly regularly, right? They tend to be much more confident. You give them a challenge, like, yeah, I'll do that. Inside they might be thinking, I haven't got a clue, but they go for it. Whereas I think as women, you tend to worry a lot more about, can I do it? What if I can't do it? What if it fails? It's that confidence to go for it. But also, in terms of to the question, things that I've faced, I was remembering a conversation I had with a manager who I'd recently been transferred across to, and his comment to me was, I'm not sure what you do all day. I just see you wandering around outside looking pretty comfortable. And my answer was, well, that's because I'm good at my job and I don't come in here crying every time something goes wrong like the boys do. And he laughed. But it's a really good example, right? The guys in my team were going into that office every day, telling him what they were doing, how busy they were, how great they were at their jobs. Whereas I was head down, doing a great job and just assuming that people would notice. So actually having that voice to say, yeah, I'm really good. Look at me. Look how fabulous I am. I don't think generally that's a very strong trait that you see in girls and young women, or even actually women of my age particularly. And the way I helped find my voice was through more senior women. Like, it's quite awkward to be sending a note to your boss saying, look at this fabulous job that I've done. Do you know what? The more you do it, the easier it gets to do. But sometimes you need someone to be banging your drum for you. And so actually that's, I would say, one of the biggest challenges is actually shining a light on myself, having the confidence to stand up and, tell people how good I am and why I deserve to be promoted or, a pay rise or all those things. And I think that's a pretty common challenge for most of the women that I know.
It's interesting, isn't it, that we're sort of touching upon a theme from our young people all the way through to women who, like you say, you've been in your career, Sarah, over 30 years, but we still need the same things. We still need visibility. We still need to see those women that have sort of come before and they're leading by example, and they teach you how to stand up and take up space and say, do you know what, I'm really good at what I do, and that's absolutely fine. In fact, let's do more of that. Let's celebrate who we are more. Halima, Glorious, did you have anything to add on to that?
No, I completely agree with you, like hands down. I think the most empowering thing, if even moving away from careers and like looking at our projects on a day-to-day sessions, like our girls feel more confident when the adults in the room are saying how much of an amazing job they've done, and more time they have done, like whether it's something they've done in class that might seem so it's insignificant to them or to their peers, but having that cheerleader in the background, like singing their praises, changes them. And it is like really, really powerful to like know that there is someone in your corner, and that makes you want to do that every single time. So yeah, I completely resonate with that.
Glorious. I wanted to come to you next because I wanted to get the perspective of someone who actually took part in Reach Out. So you've referred to a couple of stories and experiences that you had through Reach Out when you were younger. Now, how do you think your experience with Reach Out impacted your journey? Were there any particular barriers or challenges that you faced as a young woman that you feel being part of Reach Out helped you to overcome?
Yeah. I think Reach Out gave me, I think I mentioned it in my last talk, it gave me audacity. Not only audacity, through the mentoring that I received, I also learned how to be soft while standing up for myself. Coming from the background that I do, standing up for myself was always something that like I had to be really hard for. I had to show up hard and tough. And it was like I was always fighting people. I started Reach Out when I was 13. So I was like an unreasonable teenager who already had ideas of how she had to be in order to be taken seriously. But through the mentoring that all the wonderful women who are around us, like I think I spoke about them before, I won't speak about them too much now, but they were all just so well put together. They showed up to our meetings and they told us about their struggles with work, but they also told us about how they were excelling. If I had any questions, they would answer them. And that taught me. And I remember once I was saying something and I was saying it in a very, very harsh tone. I think I was like, I don't like when people do this to me. And someone turned around and instead of telling me off, which I was used to, it was very gentle. And it was like, have you ever thought about this? And I'm now realizing that they would think that they were trying to teach me empathy. And learning empathy has truly, I think it is the thing that helps me the most with making connections. It is the thing that when I am in tough situations to do with the workplace or with jobs, I'm able to take that empathy training and be like, okay, how is this other person feeling? So, and that helps me regulate myself. And it also helps me get further because I'm not just able to see things in my perspective. I'm also able to relate to other people and use that to regulate how I then respond to others, which is really important. The other thing, like I said, is audacity. So I won't say that I don't have self-doubt. I won't say that there aren't times that I do sort of count myself out. But the reason why I brought up that story about Katie was because there are some times that I am applying for jobs that I think I'm not qualified for, or I think there's no way they're going to give me this job. But because of that story that Katie told me literally 10 years ago, I will apply. And I still do it. And those lessons, those little things that you pick up while you're just interacting with people, especially as a young person, those are stories and those are lessons that will pop up randomly. It's not like I think about them all the time, but in those instances that you need them, they are there for you. And I think that's what it is. Like there are times where there are little things and something will remind me about Reach Out and I'll be like, cool. But I will say, like, being an empathetic person, I 100%, I give that to reach out, because I was not like that before. I mean, I'm sure I would have learned it, but I mean, the 4 years I was with reach out, that was what drilled it into me the most.
It's so interesting what you say about empathy, isn't it? And learning to have empathy for others, but it's so important at the same time to have empathy for yourself.
Yes.
And to have that softness in that. It's so easy to just sort of put on that hard exterior, but to have that softness and that empathy for yourself. I mean, it really is a skill that completely can change your life. And the audacity, why not go for the job? Why not? When did we start doubting ourselves? Because we don't do that as kids. So when does that stop?
I just love the audacity part so much. I think that's why I encourage all our mentees, girls and boys. Nikita, you probably remember this most recently. We had a group of girls in one of our projects who was asking lots of questions about the CEO and was like, and backhandedly was just like, oh, why can't the CEO come? I was like, why? I don't know, why can't he? And then they're like, can he come? I was like, yeah. And then like it was just that moment of like asking questions, have the audacity. And then obviously I went away, and then Ben ended up coming to visit the project, but the girls had prepared questions beforehand to ask him. And I think they learned a lot about his experience and his like pathway becoming CEO of Reach Out, and more personal facts about him. But I think the biggest takeaway and the last message I left with the girls is ask questions, demand things that you want. You might have thought it was a silly question, like why can the CEO come? But why not? Like ask these questions, take up space, and demand the things that you want. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least you tried and you know for next time. And you don't miss an opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing. You never miss an opportunity.
Absolutely. I love that. Sarah, did you have anything to add?
Sort of flipping it as well, Gloria's talking about, those words and those lessons that have stayed with you for such a long time. That is so important. Sort of, I've come away from this thinking about how we can build more nurturing, structured groups around young people as they come into the business, but at times they will be on their own. It's impossible to be with people all of the time. So actually, having that strong support at the start of your career, so you have that voice in your head at times when you are questioning what to do, so key.
Absolutely. And it's that, that's the core of everything we do here at Reach Out, is really developing those social and emotional skills, so that as you get older and you go into the workplace and you go into these different situations where you're exposed to different personality types and people with different experiences, you can draw upon those social and emotional skills to help you navigate those situations while still being true to who you are. Now, just to round things off, I wanted to ask you all what you see either in society or in your workplace that makes you feel positive about our ability to accelerate action and make the changes that need to be made.
Well, I go first because probably I've got the easier one to answer. So for me, I do feel extremely positive. I know when I have met with the young people from Reach Out and from some of the other charities that we support, there is a feeling still that the financial industry is terribly, terribly sexist and incredibly hard to get along in. And whilst there are still pockets which could improve for sure, that is not my experience on a daily basis. If I look at the number of young women coming into the industry, certainly the area of insurance that I sit in, cyber, I think it's probably almost 50-50 now. And we also see an awful lot more of women in senior positions throughout the business, and very senior positions, as well as that middle management. So actually the support network, the presence of women, the presence of role models, that's all changing. Now, I know that's been over a 30-year period, right? And obviously this is about accelerating. We'd like it to go quicker, but I feel like certainly in my line of business, it is beginning to tip. So that actually, it's not unusual at all to be a woman in that environment. We could absolutely continue to look at our diversity of background. That's a different discussion for sure. But I do find, particularly here at Howden, there is a much bigger drive to begin to get that diversity of background, diversity of thought, diversity of gender into the business. And that, for me, is an extremely positive thing.
I can speak more less in the workplace, but more colloquially, and just from what I see on social media and on the streets and stuff. Women, more and more women are becoming rich, are becoming billionaires, and are becoming rich by doing things that they genuinely want to do. and that they genuinely enjoy. And a lot of the women I know run their own businesses and they love it. Some of the women I know are also in corporate and they love it. But I think more and more women are truly just finding it extremely difficult to do things that they do not like. And that's what I see all over the place on social media. Like a lot of women now focusing a lot more on self-care, a lot more on bringing self-care into the workplace, and not by putting a face mask at work. I just mean by speaking up for yourself, by doing things that genuinely bring you joy, or by balancing out your schedule or your work day so that it's less rigid and it's more suited to your personality type and to what truly makes you grow, like on the inside. A little bit of that, yeah.
I think what gives me confidence, I think, it's the young girls themselves that I see in the projects and their audacity. They're literally challenging norms, like questioning outdated expectations, and really asking the right questions. They're not just like looking for just jobs anymore. They're looking for like spaces that they will thrive, that will belong, and that want them. And I think that's really, really powerful. And that sort of forces companies sometimes to change the way they work. Because the girls are not just settling, they're demanding more, which is really, really inspiring. And I think the girls themselves, like you said, Glorious, with your project leader, Katie, that small bit of access that you're granted to a different walk of life or a voice, that creates a big shift in that mindset. And I think that's what gets the girls to that place. So I think that's what excites me and makes me confident that we're moving in the right direction, because the girls are asking the right questions and really positive about their futures.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for your contributions. It's been absolutely fantastic to hear from you, sharing your experiences and your insights. And thank you so much for watching this as well. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And if you want to find out more about Reach Out and what we do, you can head to our website, reachoutuk.org, and see how you can get involved in helping us make a difference. Happy International Women's Day.